Welcome back, duelists. Let's try this again. It's time for the King's Court, and we're coming back with the Superior GX archetype, Cyber Dragons. This is going to be the Cyber Dragon deck profile. Take two. Electric Boogaloo. For some reason, we don't know why, during the last time I recorded this, somehow the extra deck got cut off in the middle before we got to the fusions. But I didn't feel I did that great of a job doing the deck profile the last time, so I decided to redo it anyway. Because why not? You know, you guys deserve a little bit better than that, so decided to do it. Just so you know, guys, thank you for helping us reach 500 subscribers and more. We're on the road to 1K, so if you haven't already, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications so you know when we upload consistently. Also, check our social medias. Link will be down below in the description. So, question of the day, guys, or at least ideas. Do you guys want to see some gameplay involving this deck? Do you guys want to see a combo video like Isaac did with Heroes? Let me know. And what do you guys think for Suda? Are you guys playing Ryzeal? Are you guys playing Mitsurugi? Are you guys playing Malice? You know, all that good jazz. What are you guys playing? So, let's get into it. So, Cyber Dragons has kind of been the deck I've played on and off since I was young. I did remember pulling an original Cyber Dragon from Cybernetic Revolution way back in the day when, you know, it was a different set. It was a different game back then. And I don't know, I've always liked it. Plus, I've always liked Zane Truesdale as a character, even if it was kind of a little prick at the beginning, kind of chill in the middle, and then Hellkaiser was kind of cool. But overall, I've always enjoyed Cyber Dragons. I will like to play that to say that I do like playing also Cyber Dark, which I will probably update to combine the two later when we get support and alliance insight. Which I will talk about those cards at the end of the video, at the end of the deck profile, because those are cards you can add in if you want. So with that being said, let's get into the profile. Oh yeah, custom Gundam Field Center. I don't think I've shown it off this much, but yeah, that's my Field Center for a Gundam. Got it custom made. And Ria's Maria Precious Memories card is also a token or Field Center, depending on what I want to use. Titties. Whoop. So, first off, 2 copies of Cyber Dragon. It used to be a 3, but we're using 2. And for that reason, I do have 1 each of this is the tin artwork, and this is a secret rare from Battle Collection 1, whatever. So yeah, these are my favorite cards to use, and I like them both. If you don't know what Cyber Dragon does, it has the very easiest condition to memorize. It is, if your opponent is a monster and you don't, plus or summon him down on the field. It did fundamentally change Yu-Gi-Oh! At one point, because you had to make me wait a turn to get as much pressure as this card coming down for free and then summoning something does. It definitely made going second much better. And it kind of ruined a lot of the back and forth in gaming for like GOAT format and all that. But anyway, that's what Cyber Dragon does. It used to be a 3, like I said, but I only wrote it at 2. I don't feel like you need the 3rd one anymore as much as you used to, but that could change when we get to support we have later. The best normal summon in the deck and our starter is, of course, 3 copies of Cyber Dragon Core. When this card is normal summoned, you add a Cyber Spell or Trap card from your deck to your hand. And if your opponent is a monster and you don't, you can banish this from the grave, but summon a Cyber Dragon from the deck. I believe it means you summon this from the deck. So yeah, pretty good. And like most of the other cards in this deck, this card is treated as Cyber Dragon while on the field or the graveyard, which is really good for a few of our spell cards. And a certain little win condition we have later. Plus, having 400 attack is really good for a certain card we play, which you'll see later on. One copy of Cyber Dragon hurts, don't it? So when this card is treated as Cyber Dragon with the field and graveyard, you're going to notice that's a pattern with a lot of these cards. It's going to have that effect. When this card is sent to graveyard, you could add 1 Cyber Dragon from your graveyard or deck to your hand. which is pretty good. And then when it's normal or special summoned, you can make it level 5. So it gives you a link play, or excuse me, an excuse play if you open up really awkwardly, which can happen, but not really as much as you think it would. So thank God for that. It does not happen as much as I fear. But you use it just for that combo. And then one copy of Cyber Dragon Notcher. It is treated as Cyber Dragon while in field and grave. So, of course, like I said, most of the cards have that effect. When this card is no more special summon, you can special summon back a Light Machine monster for 2100 attack or defense from your graveyard. But you can only special summon Machine monster the rest of the turn. This is really good for like certain plays if you want to do it. And it'll roll shit. Sorry about that. I bumped the table a little bit. Ow, my fingy. Oh yeah, Notcher's really good for that effect. And it's level 1, which used to help go into Link 1s, and it really helped out just for different plays. But like I said, this is the only card. Oh. And you can summon it by discarding a card from your hand. Yeah, discard one other monster. So if you open up cards you don't need, it's pretty good. That's it for the Cyber Dragon portion of the engine. It's a pretty short, small engine now, but it gets better as we get more support. For now, the new hotness is 2 copies of Cyber Dark Chimera. Excuse me 1 second. I need to take a drink of my water. Thank you. Well, I say new, but Cyber Dark Chimera is not really new. It's been out for a while. It's just that we really never had a reason to use it. So why do we use this card? Well, so you can once per turn, you can discard a spell or trap from your hand and add 1 Power Bond. And then the turn uses this effect, you can fusion summon. When you fusion summon using Power Bond, you can also use cards from your graveyard as well. Actually, I don't use Power Bond, so it's anything we fusion summon. So when we play Poly next set, and I'll explain that later, you have access to using your field graveyard. Basically, this turns all your fusion cards into Miracle Fusion, so we're taking stuff from heroes. And then the effect that's not really relevant right now is that when this card is sent to the graveyard, you can dump an extra Cyber Dark monster except itself. Not really relevant right now, but honestly, really good for when we get the effect. When we get certain support, and we'll be playing for it. 2 copies of the Honorary Cyber Dragon Galaxy Soldier. You can discard a light from your hand. Light monster can summon it from your hand. And then when it's special summoned, you can add 1 Galaxy monster from your deck to your hand. Usually itself, that's why we play 2. The old combo with this card has actually always been the... this, because you discard Hertz off of this to summon it. And then off of these 2... you would get these 2. So it's free advantage. And depending what you needed, if you had already had another light in hand, you can go Chainlink 1 Soldier, Chainlink 2 Hertz. That way this can get Ash Blossomed, this can resolve, and you still get cards to your hand. It's always been like the play, and it's always been like one of the more consistent options to get your hand advantage, gets you back cards. And yeah, he's level 5 machine, so that's why you get 100 cards. So 2 copies of Disablaster, the Negation Fortress. It's a Pendulum monster. We really don't summon it for its Pendulum. We don't run Pendulum monsters else. So its Pendulum effect is once you place it, it negates every effect in this column. So even yours, so kind of remember that. And if you control no cards in a column, there are no cards in a column, you can special summon it to that column. And you can summon this card once per turn that way, which is pretty good. Once per turn, negate. Then you can negate any card's effects activated in this card's column. And if it's destroyed, put in the Pendulum column. Pendulum zone. What makes this card really kind of funny is that if you play this in the Imperm, the predominant called the Imperm column, which is the center column in general, and then say have Infinity here, Regulus here, maybe Harazvalk here, you actually have like pretty much 4 zones locked up. And this being in 1 basically tells your opponent, okay, you have to send in that column. It's not going to resolve. It's going to get negated, which is pretty good, honestly. It helps you kind of deal with cards that your opponent would want to activate. And again, level 5 machine helps out. Our searchable kaiju is one copy of Yugioh. Just being able to spot removal something just by attributing it off is pretty good. It's why we still play the one light kaiju, and we can search it with multiple different cards. Plus, again, a light machine target that we can just always banish for certain cards. One copy of Therion King Regulus. It's still probably one of the best machine cards we've gotten in a long time. I will down that hill. Fight me. It's still a great machine card. You can expand on this card by equipping by targeting a machine in your graveyard, special summon this card, and then equip it. You don't need to resolve the equip to special summon it. It can still come out. And then while this card is on the field, you can, when your opponent activates a card or effect, you can send one Therion from your hand or field to the graveyard, negate the effect. Does not destroy it, so unfortunately, card will stay there. And the best part about this effect is that he does not need to be equipped with anything to still negate. So as long as, say, it gets popped or something or destroyed, you can still negate with his effect. That kind of is more prevalent in, say, Earth Machine, because you can always use Gear Frame to come out, and this is kind of like sense combos. And then our last 3 cards are 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Someone out there is going to be like, oh my god, he's not playing like 14 more hand traps? No, not really. And I'm not trying to shit on that one. If you want to play a lot of hand traps, go ahead. That's kind of how the meta is. Cyber Dragon's deck space is actually really tight for what you need to play. And I could make this deck just pure going 2, but I wanted to go second. Going second. And I would like to go first sometimes just because there are combos you can do to go first instead of a board. But honestly, like, Ash is still fine because it's still probably one of the better cards. In most cases, you want to ban it. You want to send this off of like being able to add a card to your hand. You want to add a card to their hand. Requiem is the biggest card you want Ash for. Feast with Requiem, because then they can't send special summon from deck. Heroes, the increase is probably the biggest one you always want to go for. Never want to Ash Stratos or Hero Lives. I know I'm being specific here, but you kind of have to, considering our meta. Malice, I'm not sure. If your opponent doesn't have the extenders, hitting Duo Drive with this is actually pretty good. That's it for our monster count. So not a huge monster count. If you guys are wondering, yes, that's another card I would say. Play Karnat, the Eternal Machine. I just don't have one at the moment. That didn't come in the mail yet, so yeah, but I made this deck work without it, so oh well. We'll play it later if we get it. We probably will. On to the spells. 3 copies of Rhoda. I say that, but pretty much that's what it is for this deck. So 3 copies of Cyber Emergency. It adds 1 Cyber Dragon monster or 1 card or a light machine monster that cannot be normal summoned from your deck to your hand. And if this card is sent to your graveyard by your opponent's card effect and negated, you can add it back to your hand by discarding a card. So basically, like, if your opponent decides to negate the activation and destroy it, you can discard, add it back. So this can actually also net you a plus off of a few other cards because of the ability to recur itself. Excuse me. Little something in my throat. But yeah, that really helps out. Having the ability to bring itself back, hit cards, it's pretty good. So it's the 3 of you. Kind of need to see it. 1 copy of Repair Plant. It used to be a really good card more back in the day when it was early Cyber Dragons, but right now this is the card you have to run at 1. So you need a Cyber Dragon Engrave. If you have 1, you can activate one of the effects. If you have 3, you can activate both effects. So the first effect allows you to add a light machine monster from your deck to your hand. The other effect lets you put 1 back to your deck. And if you have both, like I said, if you have 3 Cyber Dragons, you can activate the effect. You can very rarely get that off, but it's pretty funny when it does. 1 copy of Cyber Ref System. A Searchable Monster Reborn is pretty nice. This lets you get access to a lot of your extenders. If you go, say you go Chimera Tech Rampage, send 2, link it off into something, you can go back into this, bring it back out. Or if you send Notch Chair and then you link off her, Rampage, you use this effect, you bring back Notch Chair, then bring back Rampage. It's like 2 good card effects in one. It's really good. It does say can't be story battle, and that would be fine if it's a quick play, but it's a normal spell, so you really don't get that effect. Two copies of Cyberdark Realm, a continuous spell card. Oh my god, what does it do? So on activation, you search for a Cyberdark monster. We are only playing one target, and that is Cyberdark Chimera. And then you activate its main effect is that when you activate this effect, immediately after it resolves, you normal summon a Cyberdark monster in addition to your normal summoner set. You only get it once. So you basically always go, this is one of your cards you search off of Core. Core starts your combo with this card. You'll search Chimera, effect normal summons, and then continue to combo off. Even if we get more Cyberdark adding in, which I'm considering doing when we get Alliance Insight, which I'll mention the cards at the end of the video, you still would not want to, you would still search Chimera. Chimera is still the best card to search for this. Two copies of Power Bond. It's still probably our best fusion card just because Chimera searches it. You can fusion summon a machine monster from your extra deck using materials from your field or hand, or graveyard if you use Chimera. Double that monster's original attack, and then you take damage to your life points equal to the monster's original attack. So if you go Cyber End Dragon, it'll be 8,000, but you are doing it. You are taking 4,000 to the face. And there are a few cards you can cheat around that, but it's fine. And like I said, this helps you go game turn 2 with Rampage Dragon. Speaking of going to cards or whatever, we are playing 3 copies of Triple Tactics Thrust. This can net us a few other cards we need, and it's really good. If you want to activate the monster effect, you can set one spell or normal spell or trap from your deck to your field. But if you set it, you cannot activate it this turn. But if your opponent draws a monster, you can then add it to your hand instead. Against certain matchups, like the Bysteals, for example, this actually will let you add it really easily to your hand because it'll activate it. And against the Bysteal matchup, you actually do deal with a lot of card effects because you're susceptible to them because of how much your deck is light and dark. And that's kind of like always been like the little sucky problem with Cyber Dragons. That now the Bysteals are a problem, and especially because everybody's playing them now, especially because Malice can get away with it. And Detonator and all that. It's kind of hard to play out of not being susceptible to Bysteal package. So yeah, unfortunately, no matter what you're playing into it. But that's why Thrust is still really good. Being able to search whatever you need is pretty good. I really like it. One copy of Triple Tactics Talents because we get it off of the Thrust. So either brain control or mind control, or either change of heart, look at your opponent's hand, make them shuffle a card back, or draw 2. Really good. This can net you advantage, but it's not the only card you'll search off of Thrust. One copy of Machine Duplication. It is a Cyber Dragon deck, so of course we're still playing Machine Duplication. Why not? Using Cyber Dragon Core, if it does not get negated in its effect phase, you can go this card and add, summon 2 more Cyber Dragons. Goes into Cyber Dragon Infinity by your 3rd summon, which is really good. Which means your opponent didn't open up a Nibiru, you have full combo. Your opponent doesn't have an access to Nibiru. I mean, they can activate it, but you're already your negation for it. Yep, you can also get 2 Deblasters out if you really need to, but again, it's in a weird scenario where that comes up, and it has come up before. And now into board breakers, with 2 of the best board breakers being Clockwork Knight. If you guys don't know what this does, it basically turns all monsters on the field into Earth Machine monsters. All my machines will gain 500. All the opponents will lose 500, making it a buff of 1,000 essentially. And then you can send it to the graveyard. When it's in the graveyard, you can banish it and discard a card to add an Earth Machine, We play one target to get that. That's Regulus. And you will discard this off of Chimera, usually. Because you'll find out why we do that play. If you already don't know the combos for Cyber Dragons, the deck has been kind of figured out in a little while. One Called By, because you still need Called By the Grave for traps, for hand traps, and some like weird interactions. One of the interactions I've done with this is like in the weird kind of like interaction if you have this against Malice. If they have a second copy of a card in their graveyard and they banish the first one, or they have, so they have like Dormouse, White Rabbit, or the other one, and they have a second copy in the grave and they banish the one on field. If you call by the other one, then you negate the other one so that it doesn't come back. It's pretty nice, but it doesn't come up that often. But like I said, usually more for hand traps, but little interactions are interactions to know. And then one copy Harpy's Feather Duster, and then 2 Lightning Storm are the rest of our board breakers. It's really good. These are normal spells, so we get them off of Thrust. Yeah, you don't need to say much of board breakers. We're going second most times, so play these. And then our final 3 cards in our deck are just 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Do not judge me for my gold rares. I got them when these were the budget options, and I don't feel like getting new ones. So yeah, 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Everyone knows what this does. Basically, Effect Veiler, and not during the main phase only. So that was the main deck. It's pretty standard, I think, so far. I can change it up if I want to. Let's go into the extra deck. First copy, and the reason our deck has gotten a lot better is we are playing 1 copy of Clockwork Knight. On Link Summon, he will search out a Clockwork Knight by sending a continuous spell to the grave. He requires a non-link monster with 1,000 or less original attack. So we have that, but no matter what. A lot of our starters are that with this card. Pretty good. And then you contribute a monster on your field, plus summon 1 back from your graveyard. You target 1, send 1 wrath back. Pretty good. 1 Cyber Dragon Seeger. You can still use this card. It's really good. Gives 200 attack when a machine monster battles, but this card cannot do damage. Excuse me. Yes, it cannot. Excuse me, something in my throat. I had a frog in my throat. So yeah, it cannot do damage, but other cards can. So you can always give, like, say, Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon 2,100 attack, and it'll be like 42, which can go 3 times in game that way. Yeah, but remember, it cannot do damage. 1 SP Little Knight, because SP is good. SP Little Knight is really good. You bring off of Clockwork Knight, you can go back into it, and this gives you a free another little interruption you can go into. That's it for the links. If you guys really want, you could replace either SP or Seeger with Silhouette Rabbit to go into Angel Statue Azaroon. This gives you an extra interruption, 2 interruptions off of 1 card, and it's really good. Just remember that you can't do that if you went into Notcher that turn, just because Notcher's effect locks you into machines. Two copies of Cyber Dragon Nova. 2 level 5 light machine monsters make it. You can detach materials plus summon a Cyber Dragon from the graveyard. And then banish a Cyber Dragon to gain 2,100 attack. And if this card is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, you bring out a fusion monster ignoring summoning conditions. Really good for that. That effect never comes up, honestly. I mean, okay, so it can come up in like the weirdest cases, like if your opponent goes Nibiru and nibs you. Like, that can happen. But not really ever. It's like a weird scenario where it could come up, but it really doesn't. Two copies of Cyber Dragon Infinity. It is our best Xyz monster, basically. It's an Omni-Negate. You requires 3 level 6 light machine monsters. We don't play level 6s, but it's because you can go over a Cyber Dragon Nova. It'll gain 200 per material, so it's a 2,700 on a fresh Nova. And then once per turn, you put either the card or effect, you can detach a material, negate, and destroy it. And once per turn, you can absorb something and get a material. 1 copy of Zeus, because why not? If you guys want, you can add Typhon in. But so far, Zeus has been working for me as it. Plus, I only have Zeus, so yeah. Just an Xyz monster battles, so you don't hardly have to do much. And it doesn't have to be an Xyz monster on your field that battles. It can be an opponent's monsters. Just remember, as long as an Xyz monster battles, it's pretty funny. Plus, light machine, so you can banish it for cards if you need to. Fusion time. Separate Fusion Dance. 2 copies of Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon. Just a Cyber Dragon and as many Fusion Machine monsters on the field as possible. Get 1,000 for material. There's the Clockwork Knight. This is a board wipe because you're able to go their entire field away into this. And it will basically turn this card into like a maybe 4,000 beat stick, which is pretty good for free. 1 Mega Fleet. If your opponent has like those untouchable big link monsters like the Agnister one or like Heart Cryptor or any of those big ones, this can help you out it real quickly because this is a link. It requires a monster against monster zone. Gains attack 1,200 for each material used to summon it, but that's fine. So it's 2,400 mostly. 1 Chimera Tech Overdragon. This is the one I would say you could cut for Typhon or SP. Or not for Typhon. For Typhon or playing Silhouette Rabbit. But I still like it just because if you have like a weird scenario where you have an extra Chimera, you can normal summon it, send it, and then go into this. This gains 500 attack for each material used to summon it. No, excuse me, 800 attack each to summon it. You send everything else on your field to the grave, and then you attack as many times as materials you used. So if you did 5 materials, it's 4,000 attack points, 8,000 power bond, and you do a lot of damage. Pretty good. And like I said, it's a nice one of, again, you can replace it for another one if you don't want to play this. 1 copy of Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon, 2 plus Cyber Dragon monsters. On Fusion Summon, you pop back row. And then you can send 2 Cyber Dragon monsters, or your Night Machine monster back to your graveyard. This card can make an extra attack for each one you send to the battle phase. For the battle phase this turn. You can use this first turn because it doesn't say you can attack. It just says you gain it during the battle phase. You can send even on first turn. It's really good. So it is 6,300 damage on itself if you have Sigurd's game and if you did Power Bond game. 1 Cyber Twin because it can come up of Power Bond to this for 5,600 twice. And on the off chance Nova gets destroyed before you go into Infinity, you can just cheat this out. 1 Harris Vogue, the Mechanical Dawn. This is a good fusion monster that we really weren't playing before because we really never went into it. But we can now. It requires 2 Light Machine monsters. Once per turn during your player's turn, when your opponent activates a spell or a trap, you can negate the effect by banishing 1 light face-up machine monster you control, or 2 from your graveyard to negate the effect. And then during the next standby phase, after this card was fusion summoned, you add back the fusion spell. So this helps get back your power bond for game for next turn setup. You kind of follow-ups, which is why I do play the 1 Harass Log. When we get more support, this card becomes a little bit better because you have more options. And 1 Big Daddy Cyber End Dragon because there are times that it can come up for his Power Bond into Cyber End for 8,000. Sometimes it doesn't come up, sometimes it does. Like I said, and Nova brings it out for cheap. For free. For free? Who doesn't like free chicken tendies? I mean, I do. I like free chicken tendies. And that's kind of what Nova gives you when you go free fusion monsters like that. Yeah, that's the extra deck. I hope it all came out. If not, I will just fan. If it didn't come out first, let's go with the fusions to be safe. Do that. Just in case it gets cut off again, we're just going to do that. Really don't hope this gets cut off again, but just in case, we'll just make it work like this. So that's our extra deck. As long as this doesn't get cut off again, this is the extra deck right now. I don't think it'll get cut off, but just be safe. Alright, so additional cards you could run for this extra deck, or the deck in general, is that you could run Typhon. Typhon is definitely one. Silhouette Rabbit is another one, and I would recommend getting that because you can run Angel Statue Azaroon, which gives you... Yeah, I believe Angel Statue Azaroon gives you a Solemn, or at least a Horn of Heaven, plus a monster back row pop. So turn 1 primarily can be extremely large. Main deck wise, if you want a larger Cyber Dark package, which I would say I recommend when we get Alliance Insight. Alliance Insight, we are getting 2 cards for Cyber Dragons in Cyber Dark Worm and Cyber Jormungandr. So Cyber Dark Worm is really good. I've done a video on that before. Link will be down below. And Cyber Jormungandr is also pretty decent. Again, links to that video will be in the description, or yeah, in the description box and comments. So yeah, that's why you play eventual add more of a Cyber Dark package. You could run Claw. Claw will search you Cyber Dark Realm because it's just for a Cyber Dark card, which means Core can be used to add anything else. So you can run a little more different Cyber Dark cards if you want. Yeah, so Cyber Dark Worm, Cyber Dark, and Cyber Jormungandr are like my big ones you add. If you want to add, like I said, you can add a 3rd copy to Blast if you need it. And 1 copy of Carnot the Eternal Machine. Overall, Cyber Dragons is figured out, but it's still a really good deck. I enjoy playing it, I always will. But anyway, guys, with that being said, I've been Michael of the Golden State Kings. If you enjoyed this video, let us know. And if you guys want to see more gameplay, I'll be happy to get it out for you. So yeah, this was Cyber Dragon, guys. The superior GX archetype. And I'll see y'all next time. Peace.